Hello everyone. We're back on YouTube. I feel like I should no longer say that anytime I attempt to record a YouTube video because I've said that way too many times, so we're just gonna act like this is a normal thing. And yeah, also please bear with me, my hair is still wet because I am too impatient to wait to let it dry, and also I'm still figuring out this whole setup. I have a tripod here, but I think there's a lot of shadows because my brother lent me one of his filming lights because it gets dark at 4 in the evening, so I have a small window of time to work with. So hopefully this is okay. Anyway, so today I want to recommend books to keep you company during quarantine slash lockdown slash a pandemic. Only because 2 days ago my province went back into lockdown. So I definitely will be doing a lot of reading to, you know, keep me sane and just have something to look forward to because there's not much of that going on. So I have created some categories of different books I think people are looking for. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first category, which I only have one recommendation because it's the first one that came into my head, and that is if you're the kind of person that during this ordeal you find comfort in reading about, or perhaps watching movies about other stories depicting the end of the world. Not that this is the end of the world, but you know, or books that tell about pandemics or people surviving crazy things. So for that one, I chose, sorry, I have sticky notes for little notes I wrote in them, Bird Box by Josh Malerman. So this story, if you haven't seen the Netflix movie, is about a woman named Mallory. It's just her story about how she copes and survives and deals with this creature that appears out of nowhere that targets you through your vision. So the moment you make eye contact with it, it makes you violently violent and makes you harm people around you and also ultimately kill yourself. So the reason why I'm mentioning this, because even though this is not a virus book by any means, I thought it was applicable because it targets one of the senses, or one of the a feature on the face. And as we know, this whole thing targets our nostrils and our mouth. So what I thought was interesting about that is that in this book, there's this one scene where she goes out into the streets and she sees all these different contraptions of how people are covering their eyes. And that really reminded me of nearly a year ago when this first thing started happening, how people were creating very creative ways of covering their nose and mouth. And also she doesn't leave her home very often because that's the safest way to deal with this whole thing. And if that doesn't, you know, what's that expression? Ring close to home? English is not my first language. Okay, anyway. I think this is a good one if you're interested in that. Alright, I'm going to be checking my books because I don't have somewhere else to put them. The next category that I chose is better worlds. Like if you're the type of person that wants to just read something that'll make them just poop, your brain goes elsewhere, you're just in a different world, better world, but not necessarily a better world, just a different world. Then I have 3 recommendations for you. Are these shadows gonna be bothersome? Perhaps. I don't know, guys. We're working it out. So the first one I want to say, which I know is very expected of me if you know me, that I'm sure you expected one of these to be in here, but that is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So the reason why I'm mentioning this one, and I want to preface this by saying that I really suggest you read this one if you've either seen the movies or read the books, because I understand for most people, especially if you don't tend to read, reading 7 books is quite a daunting task, especially because, let's be honest, she did not hold back and she wrote hefty guys. So if you're familiar with the story, then it's a very easy thing to just read one and not have to worry about reading all the other ones. So the cool thing about this one, cool is putting it really lightly, but what I love about this one is how magical it is. It's definitely the most innocent book in all of the 7. And it just, whenever you read it, you just feel so comforted. I feel very little again because I'm just like waiting to get my Hogwarts acceptance letter, you know? Things like that. Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here that I hadn't seen in a while. So I really love it for that reason. It's just a very comforting book anytime I pick it up. So if you just want to read about the beauty of Hogwarts and read about all the books and material that you need to buy to get into your first year at Hogwarts, then read this. Oh my god, I'm such a nerd. Okay, the second one I'm recommending is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So the thing is, I'm not a huge fantasy book, like classic, was this fantasy? Like science-y fiction fantasy, that's not really my genre. So I know so many people love this book. Noelle, I'm speaking of you here. And I truly understand why, because it is very cleverly crafted, which is why I'm bringing it up here. So this story is about a boy named Wade Watts. And this man, I forget the man's name, but... Hello? I don't remember his name. Anyway, this man creates a virtual utopia, and everyone in his world is, so the real world he currently lives in is very much a dystopia. So when this utopia, virtual utopia is created, everyone is just obsessed with it, and they essentially stop living their normal life and are just constantly connected to this virtual reality because naturally it is so much better than their current situation, which, hello, kinda, you know, when everyone, at the beginning of the quarantine, what was that game everyone was playing on those little, with like the little animals? I think some of you might know what I'm talking about. I don't know what it's called, but anyway. So everyone is playing in this virtual utopia, and yeah, it's just very entertaining. Like, again, if you just want something that'll make you forget your current environment, I think this is a really good one to do that with. And also, the author does a really great job, which I think it was one of the main attractions of this book, is that it is saturated with pop culture references, specifically like 80s, 90s references, I want to say, which was very interesting to read. So, Ready Player One might be an option for you. Then this third book, guys, here's the thing. This is easily one of my favorite books of all time. I'm not even afraid to say it. It is perfection. It is a book that I know I will read time and time again whenever I just need a boost of happiness, but also some sadness. And that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So this book tells the story of Patroclus and Achilles, which I'm sure most of you know or have heard of those characters in Greek mythology. But oh my god, she just does a phenomenal job at writing stories. It is truly magical. I think this was one of the first books that are... I just think I don't understand what the fantasy genre is, but this is kind of fantasy. But anyway, regardless, she's one of the first authors that I truly felt like I was in that world, not just reading about it. I physically thought I was there. I was like up in battle with, okay, anyway. Yeah, this book is perfection. Her writing is so lyrical, and she, let me tell you, one of the first writing devices most of us learn when we're first studying English are similes and metaphors. Well, not English, writing in general, are similes and metaphors. And I think we, obviously, when we first learn them, we learn very diluted versions of them. You don't truly understand the power that they can have when crafted at an advanced level. And my god, she really showed me that. She really told me, hey, similes are extremely powerful and I'm going to use them a ton, but in a way that does not diminish the power of the story. In fact, it's going to enhance it to the moon and back. And dear God, does it do that. This book is so beautiful. I didn't mean to yell at you, but truly it is so beautiful. I loved every single minute of it. Please read this one if you just want to go to a different world. The Song of Achilles. Okay, we're chucking them. All right. then this is if you want to use this time to learn. If you want to read nonfiction books, then I'm gonna share these with you. So absolutely the most important one that I learned a lot from, and I think it's a perfect introductory text to this topic, which is a topic on race, clearly from the title. So you want to talk about race. And that's Ijoma Oluo, is how I believe you pronounce her name. This book is so well done, mainly because how she breaks down this book is in each chapter she discusses a different, I guess, commonly asked topic on race. But how I think the really unique and brilliant thing that she does is that in each chapter she breaks down the concept that is being targeted in that chapter, but then she relates it to herself and how she herself has confronted said topic and learned from it. I think I explained that very poorly. If you're just getting into these kind of books and you feel a bit daunted because there are so many of them and they're all brilliant in their own ways, but this one, she just did a really phenomenal job of breaking it down to its core concepts and making it just very easy to follow, very easy to understand. So I highly recommend this one. Okay, another one, which I feel like in a way could provide some consolation, because 2020, we all know, has been a bit fucked. So if you want to read how humans have fucked it up before, then this is a good one. Humans, A Brief History of How We It All Up. So, and this one is by Tom Phillips. I will be honest and say that I have not yet read this book, but I own it. So I paid $20. I think it was more because that's US dollars. But I paid my good moolah on this. So I have every intention to read this. And I just thought, if I will read this, maybe you will also want to read this. So apparently delivered in a very lighthearted way. Like there's some wit and humor to, I guess, dull the pain a little bit. So yeah, this is a good one you might want to pick up during this time. All right, the next one is one of my favorite nonfiction. Okay. So the next one is one of my favorite nonfictions of the year. It is a memoir by Caitlin Doughty, and it's called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. As you can see, I loved this one. So here's the thing. This might seem a bit morbid. I feel like a lot of people don't oftentimes speak or discuss death and dying, especially in a year such as this one. However, I just, for whatever reason, I found this book very comforting. So it essentially talks about her time working at a crematory. Perhaps depending on your accent, you'd say it differently. So, and it's just the things she learned along the way and how that experience changed the way that she saw death and dying, and how many Western cultures in particular don't have a deep attachment to that process, even though we will all eventually die. So it was just really interesting to broaden my knowledge on that topic. So I understand this is not for everyone, but if it is, and if it's something that you just want to learn more about, I highly recommend this one. She also has another book that's called From Here to Eternity, I believe, and that one depicts, I have it there, but I don't want to move out of frame, but that one, she travels to different countries all around the world and learns how each country deals with death and their process of mourning, which is really, really interesting. So maybe, I know this is a bit of a niche recommendation, but this might be for you. So Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. All right, these, I have 3 of them. So these books, I think it's an important category because they are books on resilience, God, during very difficult times. That's me putting it very lightly. And also, they could induce catharsis, which I'm all about. I think this year, I really needed to just let my emotions out. So these may provide you with such a thing. So the first one I'm going to suggest, which may seem like an obvious one, but hey, Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. I really don't think I need to say that much. I feel like every single person on this planet knows who Anne Frank is, but I think there's a little sentence in the back here that really just summarizes, a cherished and greatly admired testament to the indestructible nature of the human spirit in the face of the worst horror that the modern world has seen. You know? So yeah, I think this book is, even though I didn't read this book this year, she's someone that I think about often and kind of I just want to mirror her approach to life and the way that she dealt with hardship, because it's very admirable. So this might be for you, and this might make you feel a bit better or potentially make you feel a bit worse. Approach with caution. The next one is a classic that I read a few years ago, but it's still relevant, and that is The Kite Runner. Hello everyone, I had to come in from the future to interrupt this because I did a piss poor job at explaining what The Kite Runner was about, and I'm not going to try again because apparently my brain is fried. But I really could not bring myself to ever post that on the internet because it was so bad. So just know that it's another brilliant book on resilience, and it takes place in Afghanistan, so it's a completely different perspective to the other two suggestions. If you want a better synopsis, type it up on the internet and a perfect synopsis will come up for you. Okay, that's all. Bye. Then the last one on this topic is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. This book depicts the story of Lael, who was a Slovakian Jew, this is a true story, who was taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau, and he is made the Tattooist of Auschwitz. That was his job, and that was what he had to do in order to survive, and he tattoos hundreds and thousands of people while he's there, and one of the people he tattoos is a woman named Gita, who he falls in love with. So this story chronicles his time in Auschwitz and all the horrible things he has to endure, but also it's a stupendous book on resilience and the power of love, because he is determined to get out of Auschwitz alive in order to marry Gita. So yeah, it's a really beautiful book that may be what you need during this time. Now, another one that if instead of feeling sadness or anger or frustration because of our current situation, you want to feel scared, this is for you. Well, maybe not scared, because I know a lot of people in my life aren't scared by humans, but dear God, that is my greatest fear. I can watch and read books and movies about devils all day, every day, and I'm kind of like this, but tell me a story about a horrible man? I'm not sleeping for a few days. Well, that's an exaggeration, but also quite true. So this one is it is like a crime mystery thriller. So Tom, after he loses his wife, takes his son and moves them to a new town for a fresh start. But things take a turn because the town he chooses to go to has a really dark past. And that dark past is that a few years prior, there's a man named Frank Carter, and he killed many people and was labeled the Whisper Man because he would like go against windows and like lure kids in by whispering at them, and you know, the Whisper Man. But what is happening in that town is that there's murders happening again in that same way, like there's whispering involved. So there's these two detectives that come into play. They have to figure out who this copycat is, or if it's Frank Carter, even though he's in jail, orchestrating this whole thing from jail. And all the characters tie in together. And it is, again, horrifying is a bit of a dramatic statement, but it's just chilling. It's chilling to the bone. I promise you, I think of the last 3 pages, or the last 2 pages almost every day. I think it's so, it's horrible. And I just want everyone in my life that enjoys scary things to feel the way I feel, because those last 2 pages were unlike any other thing I've ever experienced in a scary book. So I implore you to pick this one up if this is what you currently need in your life. So that's The Whisper Man by Alex North. And the last category that I'm going to talk about, which I hadn't thought of, but then my brother told me to include it, and I thought, brilliant idea. Although it's a genre that I'm not very well versed in, and that is true crime. So I'm going to cheat the system for a moment and suggest a book that I know my brother really liked, and a book that I recently gifted him. The first one is Helter Skelter, The Manson Murders. So, sorry, the true story of the Manson murders. And this is the #1 true crime bestseller of all time. Of all time. So, do with that what you will. She is a bit of a hefty one, but hey, it has some pictures, so maybe that's taking a ton of pictures. So maybe that's taking up some of the space, and it's not as big as you think it would be. So I think, honestly, even when I look at this, I'm like, that looks really promising, and I'll probably read it at some point, sometime, once I get through all the dozens of books I need to read. And then, this is the one that he has read and really, really liked, and that is Mindhunter. And I think what's neat about this, even though, well, if you're not a reader, watch the Netflix series instead. But if you are a reader, you can read this guy and then maybe watch the series after, or just read it, whatever you want. But he really enjoyed this. He read this super, super fast because he was just really fascinated by the content. So yeah, if you want a true crime book during this weird, weird time, then Mindhunter might be for you. All right, those are all the books I have to recommend. I hope you enjoyed this video. That's it. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so very much for watching. I know the internet is saturated with content. If this does not serve you with anything, if this does not bring you joy or entertainment, you don't gotta watch it. Even if you feel like, even if you're someone that's close to me in real life, if you don't want to hear me talk about books, I don't expect you to read it. There are other things you could do with your time. But if this does serve you with something and you do enjoy watching them, then thank you for being here. Okay, I'll see you when I see you. Bye.